Welcome everyone to the Arab International Academy. I'm Hanin Al-Asadi and this is Discourse and Power lecture. Let's start. We're going to start with the definition of discourse. So discourse is the way people use language to communicate and make sense of the world around them in social interactions. It's the collection of spoken, written, and visual expressions that convey meaning. And it involves more than just words. It includes things like tone, gesture, and facial expressions. Discourse is like the fabric that weaves together our conversations and interactions. So in a broader sense, discourse isn't just the words we use. It's about the context in which we use them. It's influenced by factors like who is speaking, the cultural norms at a play, the power dynamics in the situation, and the overall social environment. These elements all come together to shape the way we communicate and understand each other. So when we analyze discourse, we're not just looking at individual words, we're exploring how language is used to convey meaning within a larger social context. Now, in the upcoming slides, we will know more how to analyze discourse and what's the importance of analyzing discourse in English literature and how you will use it later on, whether you are reading a written work or you are writing one yourself. Text and context in discourse analysis. So we will define text and context to understand more what's the difference that this makes in the meaning of words while we analyze discourse. So in the world of discourse analysis, we have two important players, text and context. Text refers to a piece of language where it is something spoken or written that holds meaning all by itself. Think of text as a single puzzle piece. It's a small part that contributes to the bigger picture. To give an example, consider a news article reporting a scientific discovery. The article is a text because it's a unit of language that conveys information. It's like, as we said, a puzzle that contributes to the whole story or the whole bigger picture. Now, let's bring in context. Context is like the background of the puzzle, the surroundings and the circumstances that give meaning to that puzzle piece. Imagine the word, for example, bank. Depending on the context, it could mean a financial institution, the bank where you put your money or withdraw your money, or it could mean the side of a river, like a river bank. So it's the same word, same spelling, same pronunciation, but it held two different meanings depending on the context we used in. The exciting part is when the text and context interact. Just like the sentence, he grabbed the bat. He grabbed a bat like they use in basketball or baseball. So without a context, it could mean different things. If said at a baseball game, it's about a sport equipment. So he held a bat to play baseball. If it was said in a dark alley, for example, it could mean a different kind of bat. Now bat becomes a weapon. The interaction between text and context add layers of meaning, and that's what makes discourse analysis so fascinating. So now here, the context that changed the meaning of the bat was not words, was the situation the same sentence was said in. That's why we said that discourse is affected by tone, gestures, facial expressions, and even the situation that the words were said in. So all of this affect the text, which is the precise words said, while the context would change the meaning of the text depending on the situation these sentences or words were said in. Key concepts in discourse analysis. So let's go delve into some key ideas that shine brightly in the world of discourse analysis. First, we will discuss the language as a social construct. What does this mean? Think of language as a mirror that reflects society. The echoing of this word shows beliefs, values, and even the power that this community has or this society has. For instance, consider how you speak differently to your friends and to your supervisors. The shift in vocabulary and tone reflects the social context and your relationship with those individuals. So, again, the language you say could reflect the social context you are talking in. So, if you are saying formal words, I would understand that you are talking to someone either higher in power or older than you, or someone who's a stranger to you that you don't know. While if I hear you saying relaxed words, I would understand that this is informal speech and you are addressing someone who is your friends, who's your age, your acquaintance. So the way you form or use words reflect on the social context you are in or you are speaking within. Now, contextual meaning. What does this mean or what it reflects in the analysis of discourse? So words, they change colors depending on the context they are in. Imagine the word run in the context of running a race. It's all about athleticism and speed, while if we use the same word, running a business, it's about managing operations. So here the context gives words their unique shades of meaning, adding depth to what we say. So again, this is part of discourse analysis. As you see, when we use the same sentence, same structure, same spelling, but in different contexts, it gives a totally different meaning. Now, running a race is different than running a business. This shows you the importance of the context in giving a meaning. And also, language isn't just a string of words, it's a power tool. Certain groups have more linguistic authority due to societal norms. Think about how addressing someone as sir or mate carries distinct power dynamics. So the choice of words isn't neutral, it carries hidden influences and social hierarchies. So if you are using some words will show the status of the person you are addressing. When you use sir, it means you are talking in a formal way, while mate expressed like you are talking to someone who's your age or your friend or acquaintance, that someone you know. This change gives power to the other person. When you say sir, ma'am, you are giving power to the person and it shows that he has a higher power than you. Ideology and bias. Discourse carries hidden treasures, ideologies, and biases. These are like gentle breezes that sway our communication. For example, examine news headlines beneath the surface. Biases can lurk, affecting how we perceive the world. Unearthing these hidden perspectives is a task of discourse analysis. revealing the subtle ways language shapes our perception. So, especially in news, the use of discourse and the use of words has a huge impact on the audience. The news could let you be sympathetic to a certain group because of the way they are giving you the news, and they could make you against another group just by using specific words. That shows you that words, when used in a certain context, has a lot of power. Now, together, these concepts form the foundation for exploring how language shapes our world, revealing the rich layers that lie beneath our words. Now we will move on to approaches to language, to study language, because language is what this is a huge part of discourse, or it is discourse itself. We have two approaches that we will discuss: formalism and functionalism. In front of you, there is a table we will address before starting the explanation and definition. It shows you the difference between formalism and functionalism. So formalism, language as a mental phenomena, while functionalism is language in social phenomena. Formalism, it's linguistic, universal, derived from a common linguistic inheritance of the human species. While functionalism, linguistic, universal, derives the same meaning, but to which language is put in the human societies. Language acquisition is explained in terms of built-in human capacity to learn any language, while functionalism, its language acquisition results from the development of communicative needs and abilities in society. Formalism, language is an autonomous system, while functionalism, language is related to its social function. So this table shows you differences between formalism and functionalism. We will explain these in more simple words right now. So, two different lenses through which we can explore language in the formalism and functionalism approach. The formalism, imagine you're examining the architecture of a building. Formalism is like studying the blueprint of language, its grammar, syntax, and rules. By dissecting sentences, you discover the hidden patterns and structures that reveal the essence of a text. For instance, in literature, you can deconstruct sentence structures to uncover underlying themes and narrative devices. It's like peeling back layers to see how the masterpiece is constructed. So, formalism, it's about the structure of the sentences, the structure of the language. While functionalism now shifts your focus to the building's purpose. We said formalism as if you are focusing on the blueprint of a building, the structure of it, the base of it. While functionalism, now you are shifting your focus on the building's purpose. Why I'm using this sentence, or what the purpose of this language. So functionalism in discourse analysis is all about the practical use of language in various contexts. It's like observing how rooms are organized and how they serve different functions. For example, by studying greetings across cultures and situations, you can recognize the communicative purposes they fulfill. Just as a room designed with a purpose, words are chosen with a function in mind. Now, these approaches provide distinct lenses to explore language, where you're inspecting its inner mechanism and understanding its practical application in the grand design of communication. So formalism and functionalism are lenses used to understand the language said or formed. Formalism will understand the structure of the language, the use of grammar, the use of punctuation, the use of all grammatical rules, while functionalism studies more the meaning and the purpose of the language itself. Now let's move on to a very important part of discourse analysis. It's types of discourse. We're gonna start, we have two types, the spoken one and the written one. We will start with the spoken discourse, and this is an important part to understand language and know how to analyze it whenever you have any work of literature in front of you. So, spoken discourse is where words come alive in real-time interactions among individuals. This encompasses various forms of verbal expressions, each with its unique flavor. So very simply, it's the conversation that's happening between people or between someone and himself. So the examples of spoken discourse: monologue, dialogue, multilogue, and conversation. We will explain each one shortly. Starting with the monologue, imagine a solo performer on a stage sharing their thoughts with an eager audience. Monologue is a one-sided communication where a single speaker conveys information, thoughts, or ideas. It's commonly found in speeches, lectures, and presentations. Picture someone giving a TED Talk. This is a very famous platform that have people who have a message or an experience, an important thing to say. Or a teacher explaining a complex topic to their class. These are all examples of a monologue. Now moving to dialogue. Now envision a lively conversation between two people, like a tennis match of words. Dialogue involves interactions between two participants with alternating turns of speaking and listening. It emphasizes the exchange of ideas and information. Think of a conversation between friends, for example, catching up, or characters in a movie engaging in a heartfelt discussions. So dialogue is a conversation between two people where there is talking and listening, sharing information. Moving on to multilogue. Expand the canvas to a group setting now. Not two people, a group of people. Like a roundtable discussion or an online forum where multiple voices harmonize. Or like nowadays, we can see a podcast would be, for example, 3 or more people talking or discussing the same topic. These are an example of multilogue. Multilogue is a complex interaction involving many participants. It's often found in group discussions where diverse viewpoints collide and collaborate. Imagine a heated debate among experts on a panel or lively exchange in an online forum. Very easy, very direct definition. Now the last type of spoken discourse, we have the conversation. Is informal, spontaneous communication where people engage in turn talking, interpretations, and negotiations of meaning. Think of a coffee shop chat, a family dinner discussion, or friends sharing stories. It's like flow of everyday interactions. This is conversation. So in the world of spoken discourse, these forms paint a vivid tapestry of human communications, showcasing the versatility of language in various social contexts. Now remember, this is the spoken discourse. We have another type of discourse, which is the written discourse. Now let's explore the written discourse, where words come alive on a paper and screens. It's a canvas of ideas that spans a multitude of forms. So written discourse, picture words attached on paper or glowing on a screen. This is written discourse. It's language expressed through written text, and its rich tapestry of communication that stands apart from spoken words. So it's different than spoken discourse because here we have a visual of words written on a paper or on a screen. So we have different forms of written discourse. It could be letters, essays, books, articles, emails, and digital messages are all part of written discourse. From the timeless allure of novels to the swift exchange of emails, written forms cover a wide spectrum. Written discourse differs from the spoken discourse in a fundamental way. It doesn't rely on real-time interactions. Instead, it leans slowly on the written word to convey meaning. There is no immediate back and forth, just like silent dialogue between the author and the reader. So this means that there is no immediate feedback, different than the spoken discourse. The spoken discourse, even if there is a monologue, you will see the interaction of the audience, either laugh, applause, feeling them being gloomy. So you have a feedback, even if it's a monologue. While in the written discourse, there is a delay. There is a meaning to be discovered through words, and it could be different from one recipient to another. So what's the advantages of written discourse? Think of written discourse as a sculpture studio. It offers the luxury of time to carefully shape and refine ideas. Writers can formulate, edit, and structure their thoughts with precision before sending them out into the real world. So the written discourse allow the creator to have time to change the meaning, the words, the message, the structure. It's different than the spoken discourse. There is no chance for changing. What you have said is already said. But in the written discourse, you have a lot of chances to change your mind, to change everything you have written before sending it to the audience or the recipient that you want to address. Also, the use of punctuation marks, formatting choices, and other visual cues step into the stage. They convey more than structure. They bring tone, emphasis, and even poses to the written word. It's like music tones guiding the reader's rhythm. To compare it to the spoken discourse, you use tone and gesture to convey more meaning and add meaning and context to your text or the thing you are saying. But in the written discourse, this is replaced by the using of punctuation, the using of um, formatting choices and visual cues. Also, you can use rhythm to convey give a music tone. So these are they replace the hand gestures and the tone that's used in the spoken discourse. The final thing we will discuss about written discourse is the complexity of it. Written discourse isn't just simple sentences, it's a symphony of complexity. It allows the convenience of intricate information from technical manuals to historical accounts. And its magic does not fade over time. It preserves record across generation. So the written discourse have the chance to stand in front of time and be a part of history. While spoken discourse might be forgotten easily, the written discourse has a chance to stand in front of time and be passed from one generation to another. In the written discourse, words become timeless artifacts, weaving stories, ideas, and knowledge into a tapestry that spans time and space. Now, power and discourse. These are analytical approaches to discourse, and these are a bit complicated that we will explain each in a slide, because these are theories that use to analyze the discourse deeply. So, how language shapes the way we interact and perceive each other. We have power in social interactions. Think of power as the invincible force guarding a conversation. It present in every interaction, shaping how we communicate and respond. It's like the quiet director of our social exchanges. Let's turn our attention to discourse, the way we use language. It's not just about words, it's a tool for constructing power dynamics. Discourse builds, reinforces, and sometimes challenges the pecking order in society. Imagine it is as the architecture of social structure. I will count the approaches that we will discuss. Speech act theory, critical discourse analysis, conversation analysis, ethnography of communication, interactional, sociolinguistics. Now we could address with the abbreviation of letters later on. We might not all the time. I will not use the full name. I could use the abbreviation. So please focus on the abbreviation of it, as we will use it a lot in the explanation of the next class. First, we will start with the analytic approach, speech act theory. So speech act theory is where language goes beyond words. It's about actions. This approach unpacks the power of language as a tool for performing deeds. So speech act theory isn't just about what you say, it's about what you do with your words. It explores how language does not merely convey information, but also performs actions. Think of it as the way we use words to make things happen. It's a theory of meaning that holds that meaning of linguistic expressions can be explained in terms of rules governing their use in performing various speech acts, like admonishing, asserting, commanding, exclaiming, promising, questioning, requesting, and warning. What are now the key features of SAT? First, acts, not just words. So SAT zooms in on how language is like a magic wand that brings actions to life. It's not just talk, it's a way to enact things in the world around us. So, ever wonder why saying the same thing in different ways has different impacts? SAT digs into the intentions behind the speech act, uncovering how words influence our interactions. And context is everything in SAT. Consider the surrounding in which speech acts occur. It's like understanding the stage where the linguistic performance takes place. For example, imagine you're analyzing a simple request. SAT would help you unravel how the choice of words isn't just about getting what you want. It's also about navigating social dynamics. For example, the way you politely ask for a favor can significantly impact whether someone complies or not. So, in SAT, language is just a string of words. It's a tool for action, intention, and influence at the same time. Moving to the analytic approach, critical discourse analysis, CDA. From the word critical, you will immediately understand that we will criticize and analyze the discourse. Where in CDA is where language is a key to unraveling the intricate connections between power, ideology, and communication. Critical discourse analysis dives into how language does more than just communicate. It constructs, reinforms, or even challenges power dynamics, ideologies, and societal hierarchies. Critical and discourse analysis is a qualitative analytical approach for critically describing, interpreting, and explaining the ways in which discourse construct, maintain, and legitimize social inequalities. CDA rests on the notion that the way we use language is purposeful, regardless of whether the choices are conscious or unconscious. So, CDA unveils the hidden power structures and inequalities that language often carries. It's like using a linguistic microscope to see how some voices are amplified while others are silenced. Imagine a language as a mirror reflecting societal beliefs. CDA examines how discourse reflects and shapes ideologies, those shared ideas that influence how we see the world. CDA does not stop at exposing inequalities, it also looks at how language can either maintain or transform these power imbalances. It's about understanding how the language plays a role in shaping our social dynamics. For example, consider media representation. CDA digs deep to uncover how language is used to convey certain biases and reinforce specific ideologies. By analyzing news articles or advertisement, for example, we can unveil the subtle ways language influences our perception and beliefs. In CDA, language isn't just word, it's a powerful tool that constructs and reflects the very structures of power and beliefs that shape our world. Now, this approach shows you how powerful words are, especially in the use of political matters and in the use of power matters upon society. And shows the importance of media, choice of words to deliver certain messages and make the power go in a certain discourse. And this we realize nowadays how much they influence people before the media were this vast and less platforms were available. But nowadays, because of the huge number of platforms available, we are maybe less influenced because now we have different point of views. Where in the past they usually have one point of view that is delivered for the whole people. There were no chances of having opposing ideas and counter arguments ideas. Analytic approach, conversation analysis, CA. Let's explore conversation analysis, where the spotlight is on the intricate dance of spoken interactions and the fascinating ways we co-create meaning through conversations. So CA is all about diving into the details of spoken interactions. It's like dissecting a conversation to understand how participants structure their turns, manage interpretations, and jointly create meaning. Now, here this approach is mainly for the spoken discourse, not in the written discourse. So CA takes a close look at how we take turns in conversation, Think of it as understanding the rhythm and flow of who speaks when and how we smoothly transition from one person to another. So ever notice how certain things we say naturally invite specific response? CA examines these agency pairs like a question and its answer to uncover the subtle rules that govern our conversation. Misunderstandings happen, but CA is there to explore how we fix them. It's like understanding the tools we use to correct and clarify when communication isn't as smooth as we'd like it to be. For example, imagine a family discussion where there is heated disagreement. CA steps in to reveal how participants manage to navigate through disagreements, showing us the strategies they use to resolve conflicts and keep the conversation going. So in CA, conversations are like a puzzle waiting to be solved. Moving on to EOC, which is the ethnography of communication. In EOC, as a culture detective, it acts as a culture detective. It studies how language works in specific communities, considering everything from cultural norms to communication patterns. It considers both forms of communication, including but not limited to spoken language, and it's functional within a particular culture. So this is not exclusive only for the spoken language, it's also can be applied to the written language. But it's usually it discovers the culture behind the discourse we are analyzing. So EOC explores how language isn't just words, it's a reflection of cultural values and societal structures. It's like understanding how the way we speak is shaped by the world around us. Language isn't just about communication, it's a glue that holds societies together. EOC analyzes how language maintains social bonds, hierarchy, and even identities, uncovering how words shape our social fabric. Think of EOC researchers as explorers. They often immerse themselves in communities to understand their unique communication practices. It's like stepping into someone else's words to see how they speak, listen, and connect. To give you an example, picture different cultures have their own storytelling traditions. EOC would dig deep into these traditions, exploring how stories are told, who tells them, and what values they carry. It's like understanding the heart of a community through its language. So, EOC language becomes a window into culture, revealing how words connect, shape, and mirror the world we live in. And this is pretty much accurate because if, for example, if you started watching movies or reading books of a totally different culture from a totally different country from you're from or you live in and different language that you know, you will start understand the traditions and the beliefs of that new culture, and you would feel that you already know how they think, how they act, and even if you go, for example, to visit them, you would have pre-ideas about how you should behave or act or where you should go, what you should eat. So the language, whether it's spoken or written, wherever the form it is, it's a novel or it's a newspaper or a movie or a play, reveal the culture and the tradition of that language. The final approach is the interactional sociolinguistic IS. Think of IS as a detective of social tone. It dives into how the choices we make in our language, like accent, dialects, and even word choices, impact the way we interact with others. So IS takes language and twists it, revealing how different aspects like accent, dialects, and even how formal or casual we speak impact our conversation. It's like seeing how our words carry shades of meaning. Picture IS as a mirror reflecting who we are. It explores how our language choices reveal our social identity, our group affiliation, backgrounds, and even our status. It's like hearing someone's accent and understanding their story. IS researchers are like language detectives. They zoom in on tiny interactions, examining every word, pause, and turn. It's like looking at the building blocks of conversations to understand how they work. Imagine, for example, someone switching between languages in a conversation. This is called a code switching. IS would dive into why they switch, how it affects their identity, and even how it navigates social dynamics. It's like understanding how language isn't just word, it's a bridge between us and others. With IS, language becomes more than words. It's like key how we connect, share, and understand each other in complex tapestry of society. So basically, after um, getting to know these approaches, it reflects how language impacts people and their daily life. And when you analyze language and discourse, you would understand everything behind it. You would understand the culture, the traditions, the purpose, the power it has, and it would reflect upon ideas and would be translated into actions. Moving to language and power in discourse. We will explore the connection between language and power in social interactions. We will cover these topics in the upcoming slides. Social power structures and language, language dominance and repression, politics of language and identity, discourse in politics and language, propaganda, language and the media, institutional power and language, language-based counterforce and resistance, language, social media and digital power, and finally the ethical digital communication. So language and power in social context. Language is a dynamic force that extends beyond mere communication. It's a tool of power that influences how individuals and communities establish dominance, reinforce social hierarchies, and uphold power structures. Through linguistic choices, such as the use of formal titles, specific vocabulary, or persuasive rhetoric, individuals can assert authority and elevate their social standing. For instance, for example, addressing someone, a doctor or a professor, not only acknowledges their expertise, but also reinforces their position of power within a specific context. So language goes beyond words. It's a symbolic system that reflects and molds the very fabric of our social reality. In this language, the connection between language and power, each word becomes a brushstroke that paints the portrait of social dynamic, and it reveals the place of authority and influence. So by choosing specific words, you are giving power in a social context. Social power in structures and language. Language acts as a mirror reflecting and solidifying social power within society. So these are like root factors like gender, ethnicity, and class are presented through language. Linguistic practices such as using gendered language that reinforce traditional roles or employing racial slurs that demean specific groups can contribute to power of imbalances. For instance, to explain this, the use of masculine terms as generic descriptors excludes women from the narrative, while racial slurs perpetuate discrimination and maintain unequal power dynamics. These linguistic choices have real-world consequences, excluding and marginalizing groups and reinforcing normative standards that prioritize certain part of the society over the other. So through critical discourse analysis, we uncover how language is entwined within power, unveiling the hidden mechanism that sustain unequal social structures. To say it in a more simple words, the use of words can cause discrimination and show inequality in some cultures, or the use of these words will reveal if there is any discrimination, racism, or inequality in a specific social structure. Language dominance and repression. Language dominance and repression play a vital role in shaping power dynamics within societies. So dominant languages grant speakers a significant advantages, conferring influence in social, economic, and political realms. Those who wield dominant languages often hold sway over communication channels and have greater access to resources and opportunities. On the other hand, minority languages frequently face marginalization, leading to the erosion of cultural heritage and changing power imbalances. When minority languages are repressed or overshadowed, communities lose a vital means of expression, their identities and traditions. This suppression reinforces existing power by silencing diverse voices and upholding the dominance of a select linguistic group. By examining these language dynamics through the lens of critical discourse analysis, we gain insights into how linguistic inequalities reflect and perpetuate broader power structures. So again, if you're in a very diverse country and people coming from backgrounds of different languages, the most powerful languages will have the most, this slice of society will have the most power and be dominant on the other parts of the society because they have a higher voice and have a higher impact because the power of their language. That's how much language could affect dominance and repression of certain people on the top of other people or on other part of the society. Politics of language and identity. In the link between language and identity is a profound in our social world. Language isn't just a way to communicate, it's a powerful tool for shaping who we are. Think about how the way we speak can signal where you come from, your background, and even your place in society. So language isn't just about words, it's about belonging, expressing heritage, and asserting who we are. This gets really interesting when language is used to stand up against dominant ideas. It's like saying, hey, we have our own identity and we're proud of it. This is especially important for communities that might not have a strong voice. Language can become a way to push back against the norm, to show that there are different perspectives and stories that deserve to be heard. By exploring how language and identity interact, we can find that words are not just tools, they are keys that can unlock doors to understanding and empowerment in our society. So this slide is as if the opposite of the one previous to it that we have discussed before. This slide addresses the minority in language power and how they should have the chance to express themselves. Discourse in politics and language. Now, there is the use of politic word here is different than the previous slides because this is related to legalism. So in the world of politics, language isn't just words, it's a strategic tool. When politicians speak, they're not just conveying information, they are aiming to persuade, rally support, and maintain authority. Imagine a political leader using words to convince you that their plans are the best for the country, or using strong language to criticize their opponents. This isn't by chance, it's a deliberate use of discourse to shape public opinion. Discourse analysis dives deep into these tactics, revealing how language is carefully chosen to shape narratives, influence emotions, and even manipulate perceptions. By examining the language politicians employ, we get a clearer picture of how language shapes the dynamic of political power. It's like a code that unlocks the strategies behind political communication, making us more informed citizens in the process. Now, why we are discussing these topics delve into the analysis of language and its power in society and what job language basically have. So we're gonna move to propaganda, language, and media, which is very important topic. So language's persuasive strength shines in media, in ads, and propaganda. Here, words are cleverly used to convince, evoke emotions, and shape narratives. Think about ads that say refreshing beverages instead of just a drink. Or how news stories can use strong words to make you feel worried or excited. Politicians also use well-chosen words to make you support them. For example, a catchy slogan can make you feel a part of a movement. These words tactics strongly influence what you believe, buy, or support. It's crucial to see through these tricks. By understanding them, we can see the real intentions, avoid being misled, and make smarter choices. So when we explore the mix of language, media, and propaganda, we see how words shape our thoughts, actions, and discussions. Now, the institutional power and language. This is related to education. In the law and education, language holds special power. In courtrooms and legal documents, complex language can make things hard to understand for people who are not experts. This can keep some people away from getting justice. For instance, if a law is written in complicated words, a regular person might struggle to know their rights. Sometimes laws and rules are written in ways that are unfair, which keeps inequality going. For example, if a law only benefits one group and not others, it can lead to unfair treatment. In schools, certain ways of speaking are seen as better, while others are seen as not good enough. This can make some students feel left out and unequal. So, for example, if a student speaks a different language at home, they might be made to feel like their way of speaking is wrong. So, the way language is used in these areas can either help or hurt fairness and equal opportunities. Language-based counterforce and resistance. Language becomes a battleground for change, especially for those who've been pushed to the sidelines. So when marginalized groups stand up and use language to say we matter too, it becomes a powerful tool of resistance. So language here is a tool of resistance. This is like saying we're not letting anyone define us but ourselves. Language can become a way to show pride, to reclaim identity, and to challenge the unfair norms that have been around for too long. People and communities are finding new ways to breathe life into their language, revitalizing them and making sure they are not forgotten. This is about more than just words. It's about reshaping the word and creating a space where everyone's voice is valued. So, as we delve into the role of language in counterforce and resistance, we discover that words can be a force of change, pushing back against the old and making the room for the new. This all show the importance and the role of language and of discourse analysis that we have been discussing in this lecture. So, in the world of social media and the digital realm, words have the power to shape entire movements. Think about how language can spark protests, connect people from all over, and bring important issues to the forefront. Social media platforms become virtual stages where everyone's voice can be heard. From hashtags to posts, people use language to spread messages, create connections, and challenge the status quo. Imagine how a single post can become rallying cry, uniting people for a common cause. It's not just about the numbers of followers, it's about the impact your words can make. This digital power can uplift those who have been silenced, giving them a platform to share their stories and expressions. By delving into the connection between language, social media, and digital power, we uncover how words can transcend screens, mobiles, masses, and amplify voices that deserve to be heard. And this is very clear, for example, on a platform that used to be called Twitter, now X. It gave the hashtag itself, it gave voice and strength to issues that other parties try to bury or silence. So if there is, for example, anything political happening to a minority of people, these platforms gives power to the minority to speak up and to show the world that they are suffering, and eventually a change could be done. So this is the importance of language in social media and digital power. We're almost at the end of the lecture. We have a case study. This will sum up the discourse analysis lecture, and it shows the importance of language and the power of it in our life and how it impacts us. So, in the world of advertisement, the power of words take center stage. Consider how ads are all around us, from billboards to our screens. They are not just about selling products. They also shape the way we see the world. So ever wonder how certain ads makes you feel a certain way or think about things in a particular light? That's where critical discourse analysis comes in. It's like putting on detective glasses to understand how the ads works beyond the surface. Take a study that looked at online soft drink ads. By studying these ads closely, researchers found that they often use images and ideas that connect with certain groups. For example, some ads may use ideas of being tough to appeal to guys, to men. But here's the twist. These ads are not just reflect society, they don't just reflect society, they also help shape it. The more these ads show a certain idea, the more it becomes the norm. So when you use those tough guy ads over and over again, they are not just selling a drink, they are selling a whole way of thinking. This case study reminds us that language in ads is more than just words, it's a powerful force that shapes how we view ourselves and the world around us. So what does this mean? It means when there is an ad connecting a specific drink to being strong, to being attractive, to being famous, people start to use this drink or to drink this soft drink just because they want the image they saw on the ad. So it's actually reshaping ideas and inputting new one that if you, in order to be a strong, attractive male, for example, you have to have this drink. Otherwise, you would be less attractive. So these ads shape ideas. They are not only made just for selling a product or for profit, they actually are inputting new ideas and themes in the mind of the audience. So we reached the end of the lecture. I hope it was clear, and we had a lot of examples about the power of discourse and how we analyze it and how the language impacts our life and our society and the power of it. So thank you for your attention and see you in the next lecture.